Yes, everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Howson, and this is 5 things that we learned watching United draw against relegated Fulham. In at number 1 then, fans, glorious fans. Now, whether you were watching elsewhere or you was one of the lucky 10,000 or so that managed to get inside Old Trafford last night, how good was it actually seeing fans, hearing the atmosphere, seeing the players celebrate with fans and interact with fans? It just shown how much of a richer sort of experience it is having fans in the stadium. It must have felt so good for Telles, for Donny van der Beek, and for Cavani to actually feel it, albeit a fraction of what the Old Trafford atmosphere is like. And I actually think that as we go into next season, those first couple of games back are going to be absolutely sensational. And of course, those first Champions League games back as we get the Champions League anthem and that in there. Now, considering how lively it was yesterday, I actually can't wait to see how it's going to be when we are all allowed back into place. It's going to be mega. The game itself, pretty minimal meaning. The poor result will be a bit of a distant memory for what was probably a historic day, 400 odd days of not being inside. The last goal that we saw was the banger from McTominay. The latest goal was a banger from Edinson Cavani. Mint. Number 2, Cavani breaks the ice. And a few more things as well. We all knew Cavani was itching to play in front of United fans. The news of his extension was obviously well welcomed, and we was all a little bit worried that we might actually never get to see this guy play in front of a crowd at Old Trafford, and honestly that would have been criminal if that was the case. But no one could have predicted the absolute class that he provided the crowd with in his first game in front of a crowd. De Gea plays it forward through the middle. It's flicked on by Bruno inside our half, by the way, and Bruno gets an assist for that, which is absolutely banter. Cavani latches onto what's almost a loose ball, really, takes a touch and just slings it over Areola from about 40 yards out and blew the roof off Old Trafford. Absolutely mint. So that chip was the 10th league goal of his this season, and I think he's been more than worth the free transfer that we got him for. Number 3, final farewells. With Dean Henderson's emergence as United's number 1, yesterday's game at Fulham might have been a farewell game for David De Gea. There has been growing talk about his impending departure, and if it does come to fruition in the summer, I think it would have been a pretty iconic ending to a 10-year stint at Old Trafford. Another player who might have said goodbye to the Old Trafford crowd for the last time yesterday was Juan Mata. He only managed to watch the game from the bench, as he's done an increasingly amount of time over the last year or two. But I don't really see much of a future for Juan at Old Trafford going forward. With Van der Beek really being the cover for Fernandes and a new right winger being targeted in the summer, you don't really see how Juan Mata fits into Solskjaer's future plans, regardless of what Solskjaer tells the press. And obviously you shouldn't be listening to what he says to the press. That's protecting any sort of resale value. And yet, if yesterday's act was a final farewell for either of those, I would just say, thank you to your service for both of you. I think they've both been a joy to watch at times at United, and 2 real good ambassadors for the club as well. So it'll be sad to see them go, but we have to move on. Number 4, same old defensive story. After Cavani's early strike, it seemed like United are going to go on there, maybe get another, maybe get a third, go on and secure 3 points and round out a nice welcome back at Old Trafford for the fans against the Fulham team that's already relegated, let's be honest. So why are they showing more fight? But that wasn't the case. We allowed them back into the game. We created minimal chances, and then we conceded a very preventable equaliser, disappointingly. Once again, we're caught out by a deep cross, and an unmarked Joe Bryan headed past De Gea and put a bit of a dampener on what should have been a real momentous day. And it's the same old sort of scenarios with us. They realistically cost United a stronger title challenge this season by repeating these mistakes across the course of the year. And it's something that we have to work on ahead of next season. And people go, well, what's Ollie doing on the coaching ground? Well, it's hard to actually get stuff in when you've had the 51 games that we had with a game midweek and at weekend, 51 games uninterrupted. There is no time in the calendar for improvement of technical stuff in that time. You're talking about tactics to prepare you for the upcoming game and recovery work, and that is it. There is no room in the calendar for working on anything. That's why you saw Chelsea under Conte, Leicester under Ranieri have amazing seasons individually, and then when they're in Europe the following season completely fall off a cliff. It's very difficult to keep a squad going unless you've got a massive squad into the deep depths of Europe and the Premier League and be successful in doing both of those because there's no time to work on anything. Wan-Bissaka's excellent 1v1 defending. When you're standing up in front of him, ask Raheem Sterling. The guy lives in his pocket. But what he's got to figure out is the defensive awareness. You can't be looking at your goal. You have to be defending your goal by looking away from the goal. You've got to know where it is, know where the ball's coming from, and know where the runner is. If you're looking this way and the runner's behind you, you're absolutely no good. And that's an aspect that Wan-Bissaka's really got to get to grips with, because it's a huge weakness that I've seen team after team exploit. And I think more and more teams are going to clock onto it and going to exploit it even more as we go forward. And number 5, Wolves is massive. And this might sound strange now, obviously, like Chelsea just beat Leicester, meaning that United can't go up or down in the table. We are second, done. And it's the first time that we've finished inside the top 4 for 2 consecutive seasons since Sir Alex Ferguson retired. And it's also our joint best finish since Sir Alex Ferguson retired. But Wolves has to be treated as a must-win game. We cannot go into that final next week on the back of just 2 wins in 8 games. That's not acceptable. You might be able to still pull it out, but I wouldn't feel good going into whatever happens in Gdansk on the back of hardly winning any games at the back end of the season. It doesn't bode well. And I know finals, everything gets flung up into the air. There's no form going into finals, but I would just feel better about going into it. We're winless in 3, and I think a solid performance and a result at what's going to be a lively Molineux, this is the first time they're having fans back in the stadium, is essential. I think it'd also be brilliant to finish the league season unbeaten away from home, which is, it's a nice little, note about the season. It's been such a tumultuous season. I think that it'd be nice to actually write another record. But ultimately, what matters most is we have to go and do whatever we can to pick up that trophy in Poland next week. And it's a week away, a week today. Can't wait. It's the most important game in years for Manchester United, because coming second and winning a trophy is inarguably the best season we've had post-Fergie, and it's happened in a weird season with the pandemic, and it's happened with, we come into this season going, this is one of the worst squads I've seen. We added Cavani in and we had no idea if he'd be any good or not. It's turned out to be pretty fucking good. But we have to win that thing next week. No ifs, no buts. And we have got a pretty formidable task ahead of us in Villarreal. That's my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Also, there's like 100 or so left of the green and gold shirts. If you want to get one, you've literally got to be like one of the next 100 people or so to click the link in the description and go buy it. We will not be making any more. We will not be doing any more sale runs of them. This pre-order is it, because we have to order a minimum of 500 any time that we place an order. So if you want one, get the link in the description and go and sort yourself one out. Cheers for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next one. Laters.